Welcome to the DSRX podcast, a raw exploration of regenerative relating through vulnerable shares, practical tools, and ecstatic experiments from our own long-term love story. Beyond traditional dominance and submission, DSRX names a new terrain, devotion and service, that include the cycles of RX as a central medicine for integrating deeper power exchange and erotic connection. Here we embrace the polarity paradox, structure with softness, discipline with holistic surrender, power with play, and conscious leadership with love, where sex, desire, kink, and the taboo ignite the crucible that turns heat into healing. Because intimate partnership is the deepest initiator, the most sacred undoing. For more about DSRX, find links in the show notes, and thank you for being with us.
This is Eric. Welcome back to DSRX. Last time we talked about context over content, how the energy underneath matters more than the technique on top. I'm going to take that even further here, because what comes before the technique, what comes before these different strategies to work with energy, is a concept that's very simple. It's the foundation, the basis of what it is to be human. Before correction, before leadership, before even desire, what we need is connection. And I'm going to take that and speak about the discipline of connecting before we correct. Because when I skip connection, correction doesn't land as leadership. It lands as control. It lands as coercion. She feels it immediately. Rachel's very sensitive to this. When I am able to connect before I correct, it's received as love. But before you even get to Rachel, let me be clear. It's not just about her. Ultimately, really, it starts with you. It's about you. It's you with you. It's me with me. It's about how I hold myself, how I hold my own inner little boy, how I lead and hold my own nervous system. Because before I can even think about leading hers, I have to get mine right. Because if you get the order wrong, if you're correcting before you're connecting or correcting without connecting, what you're doing is you're forcing. And forcing may work in the short term, but it will always collapse. And it actually collapses polarity every time because she gets defensive. She has to get into a protective place with that. So let me tell you, the order matters. And it's a simple equation. Connect before you correct. The mistake most men make is they try to fix before they feel. They correct before they connect. They do this with themselves. They hammer themselves with shame. They do this with their kids. They discipline without being in presence. They do this with their partner. They direct them without taking into consideration the context. And what happens in each of these situations is resistance. I know this because I did this. There's resistance. There's not only resistance. Over time, there's collapse. And there's also distrust. Because connection is the soil, correction is the pruning. If you don't have the soil, the pruning just kills the plant, right? So you've got to have the soil. The soil is what allows you to prune more and more and more. For years, when I felt insecure or triggered, though, this is an important caveat to this, I would go straight to Rachel to regulate me and to help me with my nervous system. And the biggest transformation in our relationship, and I've spoken about this before, was that I no longer go to her to feel better, to regulate my nervous system. I used to want to go to her nervous system to calm mine, but that's backwards. That's actually correction without the self-connection. See, the shift in our relationship and in my whole life started when I made it my priority to connect with myself before I did anything. And ultimately, that's connecting and befriending the little boy inside of me. Instead of shaming him, instead of belittling him, it's connecting with him. And It's a hand on the chest. It's a deep breath. And it's fully feeling the parts of us that we're afraid to feel. It's saying, hey, buddy, I see you. I got you. You're safe. You can feel afraid. You can feel shame. You can feel these things. You're safe. You're connecting with these feelings that we're afraid to feel. And when I do that, I don't collapse anymore in front of her. And I don't bulldoze her either. I actually can correct easily now, but it's from a place of connection. I can give form and direction and leadership and hosting, but it's steady and it's from a resource place. I feel the same thing with my kids. It's the same thing. If I try to correct without the connecting, they shut down. But when I slow down, I see them, I bring my presence first, the correction lands as love. This also took place as a teacher. If I came in and I had the beginning of school year and I just all of a sudden started correcting with no connection, it was tyranny. It's not negative. It's like guidance inside of safety. This is the leadership. This is not power over. This is actually how you start to have power with. And I feel it most with Rachel. If I try to lead her in sex or in conflict without connecting first, it collapses. She feels this and it just doesn't work. But if I take the time to simply connect and I connect with her body, with her breath, with her heart, then my correction, also known as my requests, my precision, my leadership, my form, my direction, all of that lands from a place of love. Connection before correction always starts first and foremost inside of you, inside of yourself, inside of me. You can't offer her safety if you're at war with yourself. You can't host her nervous system if your own nervous system is on the fritz, if you're all fucked up. You can't love her if you don't love yourself. Most men treat their insecurities like enemies. We try to hide them. We suppress them. We dominate them. We shame them. But all of this is our ego trying to keep power, control. But the real power, the ultimate power, comes when you actually start to befriend the insecurities, when you befriend the enemies. This is when it doesn't become your shame. This is when your collapse becomes your teacher. And like the foundations of buildings in Japan to withstand earthquakes, they are built to move. The rigid buildings are the ones that are fragile. These are the ones that are break. Forest fires are the same thing. We need them. They clear shit out. And if we keep and suppress the forest fires forever, when they do eventually come, when we do get the black swan, the burn is catastrophic. Look at Nicholas Taleb's book, The Black Swan. It speaks about this really beautifully. We need to build in the negative side, the destructive parts. This is what you do. This is the integration. It's through the connection, the burn. This is how we renew the system. This is how collapse becomes a feedback. This is how the moment where your little boy steps into the light, you can see him and befriend him. And instead of shaming him, you thank him. And I say, I see you, buddy. You're welcome here. That's actually what self-love becomes. That's the connection before the correction. And the big thing is duration. It's all about duration. It used to be when I would collapse, it was 2 years of collapse. Now I still collapse, but it's 2 seconds of collapse. So how do you actually live this? How do you connect before you correct in actual practice? First, like I said, you connect to yourself first. Before you speak, before you act, before you enter a room, before you do any of these things, get into the habit of pausing, breathing, noticing your body, noticing the little insecurities inside of yourself. Notice your little boy. Notice the parts of you that are scared, insecure, ashamed, and unsure. Put your hand on your chest, welcome them, and say to them, I got you. Don't exile them. Acknowledge them, say, I got you. Like a leader on a ship looking at everyone saying, I got you. Connect means affirming, you belong here too. All of you is welcome. All of you is welcome. 2, regulate your nervous system. So we're doing the work that in some ways has a mental component to it, but then we need to do this body thing, which is correcting without regulation is just another projection, right? So we have to soften the jaw, breathe into the belly, get wide in the frame, and then we can start correcting, but only when our heart is open. If it's closed, wait, pause, breathe, go for a walk, go to the bathroom, practice your practice for resetting your energy. See, when your heart's open, you become regenerative. Life, you can give some more chi. It's like a superpower of energy. You can get above the line. And it's like love begets more love. Chi becomes more chi. You won't drain yourself. And then you can go connect with her nervous system. The first thing upon being with her, immediately bring presence to her. Bring your presence before your form. Sometimes it's the simplest thing, like resting a hand on her knee or the small of her back, or just in the way that you breathe for a few counts before you say anything, and you hold still in your presence and you touch her and you're there, but no agenda. That's the key. No agenda. Don't have any demands. Look at her without any demands. Show her where you are. Be with her. Don't try to fix her. Once she feels safe and you're safe, then there can be the correction. As simple as come here. As simple as slow down. Simple as like, let's breathe. Simple, clean. And there's trust built at that foundation. And then what's going to happen is you will have that collapse. Step 4, don't fear the wobble. Don't fear any little collapse. Expect it. Welcome it. Because every time you collapse, it shows you where there's still that little boy. It shows you the little gaps, where the little girl needs love. Every collapse just becomes an opportunity for training. Every collapse is just your own inner gym for your nervous system. This is how you get better. It's not that you do not collapse. It's that the duration is shorter. Remember what I said, it's shorter. Before, when we think we don't like it, we won't want it, what happens is in that resistance, we'll keep ourselves from doing anything. You're going to be afraid. So in the collapse, I went from years of collapse to seconds, from years to months, to weeks, to days, to hours, to minutes, to now seconds. So every day we get to practice this self-love. We do this by listen to the self-talk. Stop the reprimanding. Stop the punishing. That's discipline. It's the compassion that becomes the discipline, the compassion plus the direction. This is the connecting with yourself. And then the correction from love. There is no true habit change and life change and human change in any relationship without a foundation of love. In any relationship, the biggest shift happens when we stop trying to prove that we're powerful. This happened for me. The biggest shift happened when I stopped trying to prove that I was powerful. And I was correcting before connecting. And I didn't do this just with Rachel. I did it with myself. And each time I would collapse, and I started to realize and recognize how much of the time I was collapsed and keeping myself from being collapsed. And that's when I started having to befriend that little boy. And what I had to do was I had to learn to stop hammering myself in shame. I stopped trying to lead from this closed heart. And I had to connect first with breath, with body, with the nervous system. And then I get to correct. Then I get to transform. Then I get to lead and direct and do these things. But it's from a different energy. Because correction without the connection is coercion. Connection before correction is love. And love ultimately is what makes your leadership lasting and devotional in service for transformation. If this landed with you, follow us on Instagram at DSRX_studio. Click the link in bio to join our weekly email list where I share weekly reflections and practices to help you connect before you correct with yourself and with your partner. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate everyone for listening. Thank you.